Hello, everybody, and it's the me, Game Penguin 21. You already know. It's a monthly roundup time. Yeah, so the monthly roundup thing is something that I tend to do every now and again, usually every month, or at least I try to do it every month, of smaller stories that I didn't think deserved their own videos, but still was worth talking about whenever you're talking about stuff like this. Now, for the past month of January, there was a number of things that ended up happening here, and we're most likely going to be taking a look at other stuff next week. Probably the whole GT getting ported situation. I think it's not Gran Turismo, it's Forza as well as Gran Turismo and other stuff getting ported or not ported or this and that and the other thing. Whatever the heck, there's a lot to talk about. But more specifically than that, I found a couple of Doom videos by your boy Harmon Smith. So those will probably be coming up soon as well. And also a couple other videos by Harmon. But regardless, right now we're going to be talking about just a bunch of random stuff. So strap in and let's get talking about some random things that I happen to have found on the internet today. With all that being said, if you like what it is that I do want to support me in other way, shape, or form other than like and subscribe, which is always enough, please hit the stuff down in the description below. And again, a like and subscribe is always enough. With this, we're going to start off, of course, with something simple here with Nicola saying, Colt Eastwood has the console war energy of a middle-aged Facebook dad. With Colt Eastwood basically talking about how he can't wait to play Final Fantasy on Xbox and PC, and will be a better experience than on PlayStation. Um, all I have to say is, Mr. Potts, Mr. Kettle is there. Say hello to each other, because Nicola is the same kind of person who will also say stuff like this thing. I think this is going to. I think Sony is going to keep the status quo until the PS6. Once the PS6 come out, expect many disagreeable decisions. Cross-gen with PS5, all gen long. Single player games, day one on PC, gas day one everywhere. That's games as a service, by the way, for those who were not paying attention. So I find it really ironic and funny how he can say that Colt Eastwood has the thing of the middle-aged dad stuff, whereas he can turn around and then immediately say stuff like that. Quite interesting. Next up here, we have Tipster. I'm not sure of the specifics as to where this came from. It's just one of those things that kind of gets lost every month or so. But Tipster coming in here with PC was never fully into gaming until the 2000s. Consoles were there before PC consoles. Detect the industry. Before the consoles, detect the industry to not PC. Sorry, but you need to learn. One thing I find interesting is that we all know verbatim that PCs are the things that develop video games. PCs are the things that develop a lot of the console space as well in terms of video game processes and stuff like that. And some of the people know this. Some of the people don't seem to know this. But if you really want to get down to the nitty gritty of it, the predecessor to all gaming originated on I think a Sterilist PC computer that was at like MIT or some college somewhere where they made a computer that literally could create video games. And that was about a decade before the Magnavox Odyssey, which was the earliest form of console. But there was also things such as the Commodore 64, as well as several other things in terms of video game stuff that was out there. It's just that PC gaming, saying that it wasn't fully in gaming until 2000s. I don't know, dude. But next up, we have Only Good Games here with a Stop Asking Me to Get a PC, I'm Good with My PS5 Pro, where someone talked about an analysis where the 50 was only able to get around 30 FPS for Black Myth Wukong, but it fails to achieve 60 FPS on Alan Wake 2 with the same sorts of setup, costing around $2,000. Now, again, this is implying the fact that the 5090 isn't as good as anything else. But here's the biggest problem that I have with this. Where is some of that 5090 power going? Or, in fact, what was the full setup of the actual PC that made them not be able to get 30 FPS on modern gaming? And I just find it very strange how they use a 5090 for this in that context, when the 5090 technically isn't out yet and hasn't received some of the same updates or things for it. I don't know. Just seems like I'm missing context for this, and Only Good Games only seems to have cherry picked some of these examples for whatever reason. And you might also understand that Only Good Games and most of these other people are PlayStation fanboys. And during that, I think, same month or whatever, or around the end of the time, there was also a bunch of video game cancellations from Sony, around 18 or 19 from my knowledge. I could be wrong on that. But of course, this is also the company that you support with VG Charts here, talking about how both Bend Studios and Bluepoint only found out their games were canceled, quote, at the same time as everyone else. Supposedly, Sony didn't tell them that their video games were no longer receiving funding or anything like that, because they just dropped the bombshell and canceled everything. Strange how, again, when Sony cancels a whole bunch of video games, that's a strategic business decision. But if Xbox decides to even delay one single game one single time, oh no, Xbox is going under. Quite the interesting story to follow up on. Next up here, we have Pirate Nation, kind of following along the similar path here, where former PlayStation Studios was talking about how, quote, the single-player games cost so much, they need additional income by doing remasters and porting to PC to be able to do that. And again, most, if not all, PC or PlayStation fanboys, not PC fanboys, but PlayStation guys, would always be like, oh, well, why do they need the extra money? They're doing so well. They're doing so amazingly. Despite the fact that, again, this is a former dev, or former CEO, I should say, specifically saying, yeah, we need more money because we're out of control with our budgets. Both can't be true at the same time, dude. But moving along here, we then have coming in with Big Fry TV. Despite the fact that I sometimes disagree with him, I disagreed with him a little bit on $100 for GTA 5 or GTA 6 or whatever, which again, I still think is dumb. But this one I kind of think deserves a little bit talking about, which is the Avowed developers, or at least the Avowed community hub, has since been nuked, at least from what I can see here. Again, I'm not sure if this has ever happened before, but this happened during about the January 18th. I'm not sure if the community hub is back up and running at this point because I haven't really checked up on Avowed, but I didn't see anyone really talking about this. It was quite interesting. Could have been a glitch with Steam, could have been a glitch with something else, but this tweet kind of caught my attention, so here it is. Next up, we have a quick Dr. Disrespect update. This one was talking about how Dr. Disrespect calls out diversity hires as a major reason for COD's downfall, which I don't think that that's the case, really. I think it's just a sheer fact of not hiring correct talent, which some people could say was, quote-unquote, the woke developer major reasons, whatever. I don't care. I don't give a shit. This is just, again, Dr. Disrespect talking about this, and I find it really funny how the two comments down below really kind of summarize the two thought processes behind Dr. Disrespect's current situation, i.e. he's this type of person and he's inappropriately messaging minors, where he says he isn't, it was just one dude, get it right, where that doesn't make it any better. You kind of ruined for a while, and to be quite honest, yeah, that's kind of dumb. It's very weird. Even though nothing happened, it was still implied a lot that there was something that was going to happen, though unsure. Moving on here, we have good old former President of America, Reggie, Mr. My Buddy is Ready, talking about he'll admit that Astrobot almost outdid Nintendo at its own game, which I think in some cases is a pretty humble, well, not really a humbling experience, but a pretty interesting high praise. Where M says, when I said that Astrobot was better than Mario, to me, people thought I was crazy. Welp, read and weep. And I can agree that sometimes having an opinion like that is dumb and stupid, and saying that things like that is whatever. And overall, this is Reggie, and again, another person's opinion. And again, he's a former CEO of Nintendo of America, which, to be honest, again, I kind of think is whatever at this point. I had more stronger opinions about this, but again, it's been like a month and I don't really care anymore. It's quite interesting, though, that Astrobot is still being talked about. But in more interesting Herman Smith news, after winning the amazingness that was the saltiest fanboy of the year at the Salt Awards earlier in January, that is. If you want to go check that out, look into Klutzy King's channel. Very good video, mind you. We then have Floppy Fiona, I think, who is a video editor. Very nice. Saying, you won't believe this, talking to Josh, about how Harmon Smith said the Xbox Showcase was better than the Nintendo one because they actually showed games. Holy shit. What kind did Harmon finally get off of his crazy pills for like a day? I think so, but he's still posting dumb videos, and we're still going to laugh at them next week, but somehow, apparently, through all of his stuff, he actually seemingly had some sort of things. Unsure if this was edited. It might have actually been edited, but, I mean, Harmon Smith does known to have some weird stuff here. But also, during this month, one of the more interesting things that actually ended up happening, which I kind of hinted at in one of my previous videos, was that Josh tweeted out that King Thrash was officially booted off of YouTube, at least for a couple days. And the world kind of breathed a sigh of relief for that. But the channel itself of the original thing was actually King Thrash's original channel got taken down. Now, if you don't know who King Thrash is, good. Best to use those brain cells to actually cure cancer. But overall, he is a PlayStation fanboy, an extreme PlayStation fanboy, who is very colorful in his language and continues overall to very much so have his way in trying to downplay the achievements of other platforms, including, but not limited to, Xbox and PC. Overall, this was an interesting development, but of course, as we may or may not know, Astro Cyborg reports that, of course, he is back. King Thrash is back with a new channel, and he now has a thing where it's like King Thrash Reborn. I think I talked about this tweet last time, but again, he did get banned and is now apparently ban evading for some reason or another. I don't know, nor do I care, but I just find it dumb that King Thrash got banned for a bit and then immediately got unbanned or is now ban evading. Either way, it was just a really funny thing to report on. Moving on. Now moving on to Jay, aka quote-unquote True Gamer, saying there is a no Trojan horse. Xbox is joining Capcom, Take-Two, Ubisoft, and Square to make PlayStation games for my PlayStation console, which I find really funny that most, if not all of those, are actually just multi-platform games that make games for all people and actually make tons and tons of money. And again, I find this really weird how even for things like the PlayStation themselves, they're kind of moving away from exclusivity as well, and these people are just kind of still in denial about it. I will always find it funny until the day that they just decide to, sit down and realize, maybe I am the dick. But next up here, Wolfkitect. I mispronounced that name entirely. This basically continues on what I was saying before, where they're going to just abandon console exclusivity to follow Xbox's strategy in accordance with a lot of stuff. Basically, with how the console market has been very stagnant for a long-ass time, this seems to be the move that PlayStation and people are eternally making. Porter Rock 77 here talking about how Astrobot selling 1.5 million is tragic and the reason why PlayStation needs PC, with also them saying Spider-Man Remastered selling 1.5 million, what's helping fund new games, with them talking about how Sony's growing attention to PC has paid off, at least for those who like Spider-Man. Spider-Man Remastered is doing quite well on PC, and it's sold over 1.5 million copies since August 2022 release. It is almost as if, right, that the thing with PC is that is actually still a pretty decent amount of growth since that August release. It is an old game that has seemingly gotten some new life and will continue to perpetually make money so long as they keep the actual listing and stuff up. It is unfortunate that it was delisted from a lot of different areas in terms of, I think, selling points, but I just find it really hilarious how it's like, yes, all of these new sales, these sales that would have never gotten to an older game that was on an older platform without getting some sort of uppage from stuff, is yes, actually making them money because they need the money. Not only was this said earlier in this very video, but I just find it really funny how, yeah, them selling 1.5 million for Astrobot is a little bit tragic, but again, it was a smaller game, and it ended up making back its own profits in that actual thing. Because again, it was a smaller game that received probably a little less funding. This one, however, was a bunch of money into the hole, and kind of needed the actual push for it because their big quote-unquote AAA single-player games have been ballooning in budgets for the past, long time. So yeah. Next up here, we have Anna Anderson, who is one of the few holdouts for the Xbox salt mining community. And I wanted to kind of end this off with this sort of thing because there's a few different tweets for this. Anna Anderson talks about how 1 year later, Palworld is seemingly doing extremely well with what I can see here, a 93% on Steam DB, as well as 84,000 players. God damn. With the recent update that also seems to have been continuously dropping content ever since launch, good for Pocket Pair. But they're also looking at Helldivers 2, which has also dropped down to 23,000 players. I think this was a far cry from the, 2-ish? Not 2 million, but a very decent amount of fucking ones here, and a 74 being more but still into the very positive ways. But this was actually retweeted by Bucky. I was originally going to make fun of this tweet because, well, he says that he doesn't like you. Console war baiting in 2025 is beyond stupid. Palworld never signed an exclusivity agreement with anyone. Stop using us in your shitty bait tweets. I promise no one cares about the faux discourse other than you, and even then I doubt you do either. And I was going to make a little bit of fun of him, but that's when I realized that this was Bucky from Palworld, who is a global community manager at Pocket Pair. All I have to say to that is, fucking based as fuck. And we finally got a good community manager, ladies and gentlemen. After all the times of talking about bad community managers mishandling actual situations, this right here, fucking based. Moving on to what the actual final thing we're probably going to be talking about for this video, we found a Steam post. That's right, a very rare thing on this channel, but most importantly, I saw someone else talking about this, but I wanted to put my own words to this. So, Marvel Rivals apparently is stuck in the dark ages being racist, sexist, and tone deaf. Reading this through, you might realize one of two things. This person, at least in the title, seems to be very unhinged, much like a whore that is off of its rocker. But we move on. It's 2025, and somehow Marvel Rivals feels like it was designed in 2005. How is a game with Marvel's budget and reach is this tone deaf? Where's the representation? Where's the inclusivity? Instead, we're stuck with the same old lineup of characters, most of whom are white dudes, while diverse and groundbreaking characters from Marvel Universe are either sidelined or completely missing. This game, by the way, has been out for, a few months now, with very minimal content updates so far, but is still receiving content updates, and actually has a lot of characters that are of a quote-unquote diverse nature here. Saying that most of them are actually dudes. You have a literal tree. You have a shark dog thing. You have a tiny raccoon monster who is also with a giant ass gun. You also have, I guess a bunch of the actual good old lineups, including Spider-Man and Venom. But you also have some other characters like Cloak and Dagger, which is pretty good, as well as several other characters that I can't think of off the top of my head right now. But saying that it's not a group of diverse characters is a little bit strange to me, because all that I notice is just all the fun gameplay of the Marvel Rivals that I'm actually playing here. But moving on to the next parts here, don't even try to tell me they're, quote, saving them for future updates, which they probably are. That's just code for we don't care about diversity unless it makes us money. They kind of did, which is why they tried to do it in the first place. So, The women in this game are over-sexualized or treated like afterthoughts. Look at the original comics if you really want to see some of that stuff happening. While the weakest abilities and the least relevance to the gameplay. And let's talk about the voice lines. Who approved these cringy, outdated stereotypes? That one's probably more of a subjective opinion, but who the fuck cares? It's not hard to make a game that respects its audience and source material. Marvel's entire fan base is diverse, but this game completely ignores that in favor of pandering to the same tired cliches. It's lazy, it's offensive, and it's embarrassing for a franchise that claims to be about, quote, heroes for everyone. I don't really have anything else to say about that, other than the fact of apparently one of, if not the most successful free-to-play games, which was on the Steam top sellers charts for at least several weeks, and continues to seemingly make money because, you know, it's a good free-to-play game and it's a good Overwatch clone. In turn, I just find it really funny that this post existed. And that's really all that I have time for this today. I'm a little bit tired because I'm recording this at like 8 in the morning, which I don't normally wake up at this time. But I decided to record this video just to make it a little bit of a Saturday one. With all that being said, if you like what it is that I do, want to support me in any other way, shape, or form, other than like and subscribe, which is always enough, please, links down to everything in the description below. Again, watch out for the Harmon Smith video next week, as well as watch out for a thing on the on the Forza Horizon situation, or the Forza games being ported over to PlayStation thing, which I'm probably going to talk about next week. Probably going to be more of a catch-up week in terms of February, as most of the news seemingly doesn't happen, unless something big happens, in which case I'm a liar. Overall, thank you so much again for watching, and a peace off. Hey, man.